Okay, welcome everyone to our release kickoff for milestone 14.9. My name is David DeSanto, and I'm the VP of Product here at GitLab. I'll be your MC today, and I'm joined by nothing but an illustrious panel of presenters. Include Sarah Waldner, Group Manager for the Create stage, who will kick us off with the Dev section. Derek Ferguson, Senior PM for the Secure Dynamic Analysis team, who will cover the Sec section. Jackie Porter, Group Manager for the Verify stage, who will cover the Ops section, and Josh Lambert, Director of Product Management for the Enable section, who will bring us home and of course cover the Enable section. February marks the beginning of our new fiscal year here at GitLab, and I wanted to spend a moment touching on our FY23 product investment themes. And they are GitLab hosted first, and we'll be focusing on things such as bringing parity between GitLab hosted and GitLab self-managed, providing new features to both GitLab hosted and GitLab self-managed simultaneously, and of course, providing enterprise-grade security, reliability, and availability. We also want to focus on improving our key workflow usability. This will include things like our enterprise planning workflows, including our workspace initiative and work items, providing an intuitive settings and navigation experience, and of course, continuing to improve and provide an intuitive and pleasant merge request experience. Finally, we want to focus on extending our leadership in CI/CD, and we'll be doing this with things such as delivering our new deployment direction, driving package stage adoption and maturity, and providing enterprise-grade and cloud-first runners. Before I hand it off to Sarah, I wanted to make a short disclaimer for everyone. On this live stream, we will be discussing our product roadmap and features that are upcoming, including some new functionality. It is important to note that the information provided to you here is for informational purposes only. Please do not rely on it for planning and purchasing decisions. We plan very ambitiously here at GitLab, and all the details discussed in this live stream are subject to change. The timing of any products, features, and new functionality remain at the sole discretion of GitLab. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to talk about the Dev section.
Thanks, David. My name is Sarah Waldner, and I'm the Group Manager for the Create stage here at GitLab. I'm going to cover the 14.9 milestone kickoff highlights for the Dev section. Starting with the manage stage, we're going to see API support added for 2 final of the DOOR 4 metrics. A little bit of background. DOOR 4 metrics are key metrics that have become industry standard for some companies for measuring DevOps success. Adding support for these via API allows external tools to pull GitLab for that data for extraction and manipulation and analysis elsewhere. The support we're adding are for the 2 metrics, time to restore service and change failure rate. Time to restore service is measured in median time needed to close production incidents across an environment. And the second, change failure rate, is represented as a percentage of the changes released to production that resulted in a degraded experience for users. These metrics enable executives who have invested in DevOps transformation for their organizations to understand the ROI for processes they're implementing or tools they have purchased. Changes in these metrics often become KPIs for responsible teams. Next up, usability improvements for the GitHub importer. So tying back to one of the key themes for the year. When importing large projects from GitHub, which can take minutes or perhaps hours in some scenarios to complete, the user is left without any context to the progress of the import. When it's completed, today, the user simply gets a message that says this is complete or it has failed. We don't provide any insight into whether or not everything was successful or what in this scenario failed. We're adding visual indicators to give you a sense of the progress of the import over time, and then the elements that are part of the import and where they are in their status. This gives you a lot more helpful information in terms of troubleshooting when things are taking a long time or something did not complete. And finally, from the compliance group, we are transforming the compliance dashboard into an interactive, into an interactive report to help compliance managers better review, triage, and prioritize which violations their team is to work on. Let's take a look at the changes that are coming up. The violations are going to be displayed in an organized list that you can sort by severity with the addition of an icon that gives you immediate indication of what you should spend time on first. Clicking on a violation is going to pop a drawer out on the right-hand side, giving you more details on who is involved and what merge request it's directly related to help you get to the bottom of it faster. From the plan stage, we're going to see two highly requested improvements that are related to key workflow usability. The first of which is adding support for epic to epic linking. We're all very familiar with the current linking issue to issue functionality, whereby you can add an issue to another one and indicate it as blocking, blocked by, or related to. We're up-leveling this functionality to also appear on epics, which are used as segmentation for larger scopes of work. Second up, key workflow usability from the plan stage is adding assignees to a task. A natural element of a task is the assignee. This lets you know, as the assignee, you're responsible for a piece of work, but other people to understand who is completing a certain task. The first iteration of this in the 14.9 release, tasks will be able to be assigned to one GitLab user. And finally, from the plan stage, we're adding a proxy for the Jira Cloud app for self-managed GitLab users. Users are going to have clear instruction on setting up the app and connecting namespaces via the Atlassian Marketplace. So that's going to look like this. You're going to be able to select GitLab self-managed and add in your instance URL to connect. This is going to come along with a fully fledged OAuth workflow. Now, let's get a sense of what that's going to look like. This will be the beginning of it in the Atlassian Marketplace, where you're going to be able to sign in to your GitLab instance directly from that interface. And last but not least, from the create stage, FIPS compliance is a larger cross-company effort to become FIPS compliant. This is a requirement for the US government, among other many PubSec customers, to utilize a piece of software. It's required for any FISMA or any FedRAMP system and cannot be waived. For GitLab, for us to be directly usable by the US government or others in this PubSec segment, we have to be compliant. The source code team is going to be working to bring our source code management product up to par for FIPS compliance, in line with the ultimate goal of making all of GitLab FedRAMP compliant. And finally, key workflow usability element coming at us from the editor group. We'll be adding a new setting for group wikis at the group level to be able to toggle these on and off. We're familiar with the settings look like. This is going to appear under permissions and group features, and you'll be able to disable or enable it at your leisure. That's it for the dev section. David, back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. And over to Derek for the sec update.
Yeah, thank you. And Sarah, that sounds like some great stuff that's coming from dev in 14.9. So I'm Derek Ferguson, and I'll be covering the sec section. We've got a lot going on in 14.9, and you'll see that the main theme for sec in this milestone is improving key workflow usability. You'll see that reflected across multiple groups in our section. So getting started for the container security group, we plan to continue working on scan result policies, including UX and UI enhancements. Specifically, we're working so that security approval policies can be viewed together in the same location as the merge request approval rules. Additionally, we'll be preparing a migration script that'll run as a part of the upgrade to GitLab 15.0 to automatically migrate any remaining vulnerability check rules to security approval policies. In addition to this, we plan on introducing a UI to easily enable container scanning via merge request. This is going to follow the same workflow that we already have in place for SAST and dependency scanning. All right, moving on to the Threat Insights group. They're going to continue their work on the integrated security training. This feature will provide a simple and unobtrusive way to access highly relevant training materials from our partners. This is going to improve the MR experience by embedding links to short interactive security training exercises directly from the vulnerability findings. All right, for dynamic analysis, we'll be making sure that all of the DAS-specific vulnerability details are added to issues created from vulnerabilities found by DAS scans. So details like the method, URL, request, and response are going to be shown now within these created issues. And we've talked about our new browser-based DAS analyzer in multiple releases, and in 14.9, in addition to working on the stability and performance of the browser-based spider, we'll continue our work on building more passive browser-based vulnerability checks. And this is going to bring us much closer to being able to default our DAS scans to the browser-based analyzer in a future release. All right, adding on to what we've already done to increase the speed of the API security scanner, we're going to continue to add speed improvements for API security to provide a better and quicker scanning experience. And finally, for coverage-guided fuzz testing, we'll start working to support coverage-guided fuzzing on OpenShift. All right, moving on to composition analysis. Within composition analysis, we'll continue working on the MVC for showing the paths to dependencies. And in this milestone, we will continue work to show one introduced package on the finding details page. We'll be continuing working on this MVC to build out this feature over the next few milestones. For license compliance, we'll continue work in 14.9 to find a replacement for our current analyzer. And finally, for static analysis, our 14.9 work is mostly focused on delivering a more consistent and high quality user experience when interacting with SAST and secret detection. So in addition to working on improving the scanning experience by delivering multiple bug fixes for both SAST and secret detection, we'll be working on moving 3 language-specific analyzers to SemGrep by 15.0. We're reducing the number of analyzers used in SAST as a part of our long-term strategy to deliver a better and more consistent user experience. Streamlining the set of analyzers will also enable faster iteration, better results, and greater efficiency. In addition to all of this, we've got multiple deprecations and removals coming up across the board in SEC in 15.0. So in order to be ready for this, we'll be working on all of these items in 14.9. And with that, I will hand it over to Jackie to cover the ops section.
Thank you so much, Derek and Sarah, for sharing all the great things your teams are doing in 14.9. As a quick introduction, my name is Jackie Porter, and I'll be covering the ops section kickoff for 14.9. The ops section contains 5 different stages: verify, package, release, configure, and monitor, and really owns all the experiences to effectively leverage configuration and operation tasks in GitLab. I can't cover all the great things that the team is doing in 14.9, so please take a moment to check out the direction pages. Just like David said, we'll be covering 3 main themes from fiscal year 23 in this kickoff. First up will be an issue from our runner team in the verify stage. This is about extending our lead in CI/CD, and it's a spike from the team to seamlessly enable generation of provenance as required by the SALSA framework. This issue is helping us enable the secure supply chain direction inside of GitLab, and really will help ensure integrity of software creation from beginning to end, at least the investigation for it. Next up is an issue from our release stage, and it's a critical enhancement to our deployment capabilities, specifically around supporting audit and compliance with deployment approvals. And this release will be enabling release managers or development team leads to easily write a comment, adding contextual evidence to the approval or rejection of a manual job. Lastly, for extending our lead in CI/CD, the configure stage will be enhancing the GitLab Kubernetes agent to be able to be used without a ton of effort or configuration in 14.9. The team will be looking to support the registration of agents without a configuration files, really reducing the overhead or the management of configuring your Kubernetes agent. Transitioning to our second theme, GitLab hosted first, we'll be focusing on driving GitLab.com MAU and accomplishing our 99.95 availability target. First up is an issue from our verify pipeline execution team, which is about implementing CI/CD time decay. In 14.9, we'll be really focused on thinking about how to partition CI/CD data to improve the availability and performance of GitLab.com SaaS offering. Additionally, across the ops section, all teams are prioritizing several optimizations for various endpoints that have errors or are taking a long time to respond in order to improve our error budgets and ultimately increase the availability of our groups. We're really excited to see our product teams continue to prioritize the improvements to scaling. Last step is the theme around improving usability workflows. This will be specific to pipelines and multi-stage experiences. Our pipeline authoring team has been hard at work in thinking through how to help users trigger and retry jobs across multiple projects or even within the same project. And today, if you want to retry a specific job or retrigger a downstream pipeline, you must go to each individual pipeline and retry it. This enhancement in 14.9 will enable users to effectively retry their trigger jobs and downstream pipelines for one screen. This will really save a ton of time for those who have a bunch of downstream pipelines. Next up, a core workflow across GitLab is the verify and create teams working together. This is seen in merge request pipelines and merge trains. One investment that the verify stage is going to be working on will be improving the learnability of different kinds of pipeline types. Today, you'll see detached pipeline labels in GitLab. This can be really confusing because there's multiple flavors of detached pipelines, including merge requests pipelines, merge result pipelines, and merge train pipelines. This issue will help improve that visibility by changing those different labels across GitLab. Last up, from a MR widget experience perspective, the Pipeline Insights group will be making improvements to two different aspects of the MR widget. First is this test summary view, as well as the metrics view, which will enable you to seamlessly interpret and view these different inputs inside of the MR widget, as we're updating it to be a conformed pattern across all those experiences. That wraps up the ops section kickoff for 14.9. And as I noted earlier, there was so much to cover in our team's release, so please take a moment to jump over to those pages. I'll pass it over to Josh Lambert to cover the enablement section.
Thanks, Jackie. Those are some really exciting changes in the ops section. And looking forward to those being available in 14.9. For enablement, as similar to Jackie and the others, this is not everything that we're working on. And so please do look at the kickoff videos and the related epics and issues for more information. But we're going to hit the highlights here for GitLab Hosted first, and also a little bit on new markets as well. So for those of you who have been listening to previous kickoffs, you have probably heard us talk about database decomposition before, and we are continuing our efforts to do this with the goal of increasing the overall potential scalability of GitLab for additional users over a period of time. And the reason is because we're effectively getting double the write throughput by moving to two databases. Postgres can only have one active node that takes writes. That node can only get so big. And so at some point you need two. And so we are continuing on this pathway here across multiple groups in enablement and the company. Geo in particular is working on this as to make sure that their application code can support multiple databases. And we're also going through on the database front to make sure that all of our database tooling can go through and support multiple databases. Things like rake tasks, some of our migrations, and some of our other tooling also all needs to be updated. Overall, this should result in increased performance for GitLab and increased scalability for all users, but in particular on GitLab.com, which is the largest instance that we're aware of. From there, also focusing on the database, we are working towards having our batched background migration service become GA, or the default migration service for GitLab.com in particular and GitLab overall. The reason is because this migration service is significantly better than the default Rails migration service because it can automatically tune itself on how fast to run, and it can be stopped and restarted as needed without restarting all over again. And so it provides a lot more control and a lot more tuning to result in migrations being completed faster, but also more safely for the overall stability of the service. And so we're working towards a couple items here to get to version 1.0 and make it the default for everything. So looking forward to that to improve the stability of GitLab.com. Also on the database front, we are working towards reactively controlling how much the database can change in a short period of time. We have seen some patterns where maybe a user runs a lot of API queries that make changes, and those can maybe downstream make additional changes, which can impact the overall index scan performance or just general database performance. You can see some of these things in some of the recent, not recent, but historically, some of the incidents we've had where our database performance was degraded below what we would like and took some intervention to recover. And so this will allow us to automatically respond within the code base and self-heal much more quickly to prevent these types of degradations in our services. And so looking forward to this to improve the overall performance and kind of consistent feeling of GitLab.com and GitLab SaaS services. Of course, also all services as well, with GitLab being the same code base going forward once this is completed. So we're going through and starting to work on this here in this milestone, which is, I think, pretty exciting. Shifting away from database over towards application performance, our memory group is working on consolidating and providing guidance on our various profiling tools. As you can see here, we have a lot of them that we use across GitLab, and we want to make sure it's clear which one should be used, which one should be used when, and then help improve the kind of smaller subset from there to help developers improve the performance of GitLab more easily. We're also working to continue to shift out our application exporters. So these are the things that generate metrics to tell Grafana and other tools how GitLab is doing. And we're moving them out of the processes that kind of serve websites, our web service and other things. So this provides isolation so that we can separate kind of the application code that's doing work to the application code that is emitting metrics. That way, if you have a problem in the metrics code, it doesn't impact our ability to continue to run the service. And so this will allow us to have improved reliability of our GitLab application. All right, so shifting away from kind of the overall performance and scalability and moving on towards advanced search, we are working towards supporting OpenSearch in our advanced search services. This will allow customers to use OpenSearch instead of Elasticsearch if they would desire, but also it allows us to have, at least on AWS, for customers to utilize the Amazon OpenSearch service, which is a nice, easy way of running advanced search when you have GitLab running on AWS. And so this will be a great tool for folks to more easily run these over time and reduce kind of the maintenance effort of GitLab on AWS. Also, we are moving the commits out of the general Elasticsearch index for advanced search over into its own. This will allow us to have a more improved performance for advanced search service. We've done this with previous index content types like notes and merge requests, and we've seen great results. So we're continuing to go through the rest of our data types to improve advanced search performance as well. And that's it for GitLab hosted first, and moving on to new markets. So our distribution team, along with much of the rest of the company, as you have already heard, is working towards FIPS compliance. Distribution in particular is going through our container images and our omnibus packages and doing things like making sure we can compile all of our dependencies against OpenSSL, as well as a few other work we're doing here in this milestone, again, pushing towards a compliant FIPS service, which would be helpful for certain markets in the public sector, but also build towards FedRAMP, which we have a working group now focusing on. And last but not least, we are hoping to finish our Red Hat certification. I've talked about this in the past, and we are quite close. We have one more image left to go to move on to a UBI-based image, or kind of like a RHEL-based image. And once we're done with that, all the requirements should be addressed. And so we are very, very close to finishing up here and looking forward to getting that Red Hat stamp of approval on our operator, so our customers can be confident that the GitLab operator can run well in the Red Hat OpenShift environments. And so that's it for the enablement section, and I'll hand it back to David to wrap us up.
Josh, and thank you all the presenters for another great kickoff call. There were so many great things that were highlighted. I can only write down a couple as the presenters talked. The ones that stood out are the improved detail status on the GitHub importer process, linking issues together so you can see when things are related or blocked by other efforts. Scanned result policies continue to get better. That's a big ask of our enterprise customers. Continued migration to our new DAST engine. Adding approval and reject comments when approving manual deployments, also very cool. Fuzz testing support with an OpenShift, being able to re-trigger downstream pipelines a lot easier, support for agent registration without full configuration, and of course, the stuff that Josh just touched on. That was a tongue twister for me there. Support for open search within our advanced search, improved search performance, and of course, everyone working together on FIPS 140-2 compliance and the Red Hat owner or operator certification. For a full list of everything, please check out the Release Kickoff page. Also, make sure to click through, like, comment on the related issues, and engage with the team. Thank you, everyone, for watching, enjoying this Release Kickoff, and have a great day.